Howdy once again, it's tubalcain, and this time with Machine Shop Tips number 219 entitled Vise Caps. So first let me show you several of my different vices that I have, as well as the way I protect my work, because there's always a problem working with light work and delicate work where you may put vice marks on them, and some vice jaws are pretty aggressively toothed so that they will grip the work. And I don't want to remove any of that, although at the high school sometimes the Wilton vices were so sharp when they were new that I would take them out and either lightly surface grind them, or in some cases I ground some that were totally smooth for certain types of work. But we used Vise Caps all the time, generally homemade ones. But let's take a look at some of the bench vices that I have, and then I'll show you how I protect my work. I'm out in my new garage now, and this is my 6-inch wide Charles Parker vise. It must weigh over 100 pounds. Matter of fact, it wants to tip the whole bench over, and I need to make the bench a little more sturdy, or fasten the bench to the wall. But anyway, this is a very old vise, so the teeth are relatively worn. And some vices you cannot remove the jaws very easily, even though supposedly they're replaceable. But when I bought this vise at an auction, it came with these copper or brass jaw protectors. So someone had the problem and used those over the years. They don't stay on very well, but yet they serve the purpose when I'm working on something delicate. I've got another set of Vise Caps that I sometimes use in this vise. Again, this is a 6-incher. Most of my other vices are 4 inches, but this set of jaw caps is 5 inches, so that's kind of a weird size, but I did fit them up so that I could use them in this vise. I got them marked front and back, and they have the little ears that can be bent over, and there's a set that's really hardly been used at all. They're cast brass or bronze. A little bit shy of the full width here, but still quite serviceable and pretty, I think. Here's another vise I acquired not too long ago, and it's a 4-inch wide, and it's a Rock Island, and I suspect it's a very old one, but it, as you can see by the unusual shape of the jaws, and I've got it apart here so that I can move it around, and I have painted it recently, but it's a sheet metal vise, and sheet metal vises do not have teeth on the jaws. They're smooth. However, some hammer and chisel mechanics have had their way with this vise over the years. I did dress it up a little bit, but these are nice vices, and they were used by sheet metal workers to bend metal and other operations like that, where you didn't have to grip it very tightly. But these are kind of nice for woodworking too, because the jaws are so broad and so smooth. Here's a rather unusual vise that I've had for several years, and I never have mounted or used it, but I bought it just because of its uniqueness, and I see no name on it. I don't know who built it, but and it's ugly as sin. But take a look at what it does here. We got smooth jaw here, and this is a 5-incher. We got a smooth jaw here, no teeth at all. Now, if you don't like that, it's got a bit of a turret. We can put that one on, and we got a V-way in that direction. We can turn it, and we got 2 V-ways in this direction of different sizes, and then yet one more V-way of another size. Goes in like that. I don't believe this is a heavy-duty vise. It appears to be just cast iron rather than cast steel. Have you ever seen one like that? If anyone knows who made this, let me know. And then on this side, if we look at it from this direction, this is the knob here that allows the pin to be put into these different positions, almost like on a pipe threader. So I thought that was pretty unique and at least worth showing, and with smooth jaws. Here's everyone's favorite, the Wilton vise, and this is an in-between size. It's a 3.5-inch jaw. Again, notice the aggressive teeth on there. and the screws, so they are easily removable. And also notice down here we got the pipe jaws. I had a lot of Wilton vices at the high school, and they were good vices, although sometimes the kids would tighten them so tight that if I were to take this all out, they would bend the ram so that it would just be bent like my finger, not that bad perhaps, and then the vise was useless, had to be scrapped. And one time I got the Wilton sales manager or representative to the school, and I showed that to him, and he didn't seem to care. At one time I had a nice bench vise, and as a matter of fact it was mounted right here on this bench, and it had the rear jaw, you could pull a pin here and the rear jaw would swing so you could hold tapered work, and it had smooth jaws. And I really liked that vise, but from time to time I needed to hold something tight so I could thread it or whatever the operation was, so I got rid of it, and now I have seller's remorse. But you've seen me use this vise before. This is a palm gun drill press vise mounted on square, and I sometimes hold it in here for light and delicate work, and it has smooth jaws and the little V-way in both directions. Also, here's a little jeweler's vise that I actually never have used it, if you want to know the truth, but it does have teeth on the tiny little jaws. I think this is made in Germany. It's quite precision. Notice that the rear jaw moves instead of the front jaw. There's a million variations on vices, as you know. This is Leroy Sterrett's idea of a swivel jaw, swivel base machinist vise, similar to the one that I just spoke of, and the pin right here would be pulled out, and then this entire jaw piece here would pivot. Not exactly like this, but have you ever seen a vise jaw made like this? And this actually is a drill press vise, not a bench vise, but I hope to make a set of vise jaws on this principle that will fit into this vise over here, the Colombian vise, and if I ever do, I'll make a video of it. But you can see how you can hold something tapered with a vise jaw of that design. Pretty neat, huh? Here's a little pan of vise, and these are used in factories often where they're making delicate parts or circuit boards and things like that, and it has little plastic jaws that are replaceable. That can be mounted to the bench and tilted in just about any possible direction. So that's a handy little thing with soft jaws. Now here's how I protect my work in my Wilton, or my Colombian vise rather. I use these little Wilton magnetic jaws, and these have been around a long time, and it's got the V in there in both directions. They're getting kind of beat up, but Wilton sells these in different materials besides aluminum, but you're not going to like the price on them, but they're nice little jaws. In another video I recently showed these Vise Jaws caps that I made with magnets in them. That can be used like that, just made out of common aluminum angle iron that I trimmed off. It was 1 inch by 1 inch, but I sawed it off in one direction. Those are pretty nice. I really haven't used these much because I just made them. And I have another set of the cast brass jaws that I sometimes use with the ears on them. Here's an idea for you. This is an old piece of belting, but you can take leather belting also if you have any. It used to be very abundant, but you don't find this stuff much anymore. And you can make your own pattern, and this is for different kinds of vices, but depending on what kind of vise you got, and that can just be put in there just real quickly, and just great for maybe holding something like a gun barrel or something else that is real delicate, and then quickly taken out. Set off to the side, even hang it up by that. So that's a good idea. That's something my brother, I thought, invented even when we were boys, and he worked on guns all the time. When I was in a store recently, I got another idea for vise caps, and I made a pattern. Disregard this little notch here, that's just a variation. And again, that fits over the square ram on the Colombian vise. I don't know if you could make one for a round ram or not. So that was just my pattern, and then taking some aluminum that's about 1/8 of an inch thick, I made a pair of those, and those fit in there like that. You could make those out of much thicker aluminum as well, or out of plastic such as this 3/8 thick PVC. That would be very good if you can get a hold of some of that, or whatever you can find. At the high school, sometimes the boys would fashion their own vise jaw caps out of whatever material was laying around, and it could have just been cold rolled steel or galvanized, because that's what we had the most of. But if you have copper or lead, and lead could be a little bit thicker than that, but that would be quite serviceable. And for a while I had a mold that was made by the Cook company, who makes lead hammer molds, but it was designed to make lead vise jaws. So I used to make those, but they were a little too delicate for shop use in a school shop. But here's an idea for vise caps. This is just aluminum, but it could be anything you can think of, and you need to come up with a pattern for your vise. Would look something like that, and that's 50 thousandths thick aluminum. And once you fabricate, cut it out, soften the corner, just take your hammer and ta-da, a custom-made set of aluminum vise caps. And I submit those for your approval. Virtually any of the jaw caps that I just showed you could be lined with either rubber, something like this, in different thicknesses, and that's about 1/8 inch thick, or cork. Now cork is a little bit delicate, but for delicate work you need delicate materials, and that can be fastened onto these either like with contact cement or double stick tape. I think that it would work pretty well. Here's everybody's favorite again, a little Wilton vise, and this particular one is, I believe it's a 3-incher. Yes, and I had to borrow this from my grandson, which he had out in his little storage shed, and you can see it's getting rusty. So it needs to be cleaned up and have another coat of gray paint on it. But I have taken the screws out of the jaws here, and these jaws will come right off, I hope. A little sticky, so I need a screwdriver here to pry this off, like that. And they got some pins in here to help align, and I suppose that Wilton sells new jaws. And you can see the serrations in there, but if you want softer jaws, I made several sets, and here they are. There's aluminum jaws. That center hole just needs to be a clearance hole, much bigger than what you would need, and this can be done, for, of course, for any size of Wilton vise, but you need to just copy the originals. I believe they sell spares, and screw it on and it's ready to go. Nice set of soft jaws. And here's a set that I made out of the PVC. That's 1/2 inch thick, I believe. And I did not drill the holes yet for the screws and counterbore them. But those would go in there like that. And you would have some nice soft jaws. So there's all kinds of ideas for you for vise jaws and vise caps, and pick and choose what you like there, and maybe you got some ideas that you'd like to use in your own shop. So that concludes this video, and this is tubalcain saying so long for now, and be sure and watch my 600 other videos.